Welcome to the Divorce Angel podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Summerton. Attention business owners, senior managers and executives. Your successful separation begins right now. We have the answers to the questions you did not even think to ask. Let's face it, you're already successful in your career and we're here to help expand your knowledge and limit your costs by designing a strategy for your divorce. We take all that business knowledge you've acquired and we put it to work. With proven strategies, systems and processes, we've saved our clients tens of thousands in legal fees and helped define their future. And now we're doing the unthinkable. We're revealing the secrets the lawyers have tried to hide and giving you our formula for 5 steps to a seamless divorce. We're changing the world one divorce at a time, so stay tuned. Hey folks, and welcome back to this week's podcast. They come around really quickly, don't they? What episode are we up to? Oh, 88. Wow, 88. Who would have thought when I started this a year and a half ago, nearly 2 years ago, that I'd be 88 episodes in? Here's the thing. I'm still loving doing these and sharing this information with you. So I can be honest with you, when it stops being fun, I'll stop doing them. But today, I really wanted to talk about something that I've witnessed with some of my new clients. And there's no doubt I've been there, but it bloody hurts. It really, really effing hurts. You know, the thought that your life could be where it is now is probably something you never envisaged. You always thought you would be happy because, let's be honest, you wouldn't have gone through all the trouble of putting together a wedding or having children or buying a house or whatever it was that you guys did together to end up where you are right now. And it hurts. And it hurts a lot. It's a pain that's indescribable. You know, we can have physical pain, but this emotional pain that we feel when we're going through a divorce is something that is undescribable. Like, you couldn't even explain it to your best friend if you wanted to. I've heard people say it's just like my heart's being pulled out of my chest. I'm struggling to even breathe some days. Even just not physically being able to get out of bed. Like, the side effects of what happens when you go through a separation are full on. And there's a study that was done, many years ago actually, on the stresses in life. And the second most stressful time in a person's life is going through a divorce. And I don't know, even when I looked at what you had to compare them to, if second was getting a divorce, number 8 was going to jail. And if I had to think of being stressed, the thought of going into a jail because you've been committed of a crime just makes me feel sick. So if that's number 8, it gives people who haven't gone through a divorce some understanding of how stressful it is to deal with all of the things that are part of ending a relationship. And you probably already know all of this, and you're starting to realize there's so much to be done. And many people say to me, I just have no idea where to start. And that, combined with the feelings of, how did I find myself here? I don't know if I can ever trust anyone again. And if you're anything like me, I had this overpowering sense of failure. How did my parents were divorced and I was certain that it would never happen to me. But here I was 22 years later and I was also dealing with the same things that I swore I would never deal with. I mean, obviously I'd learnt lessons from what I'd gone through with my parents and I tried to prevent that with my children. But yeah, it's not nice. And it's still something, as you can see, I'm stuttering a bit because trying to verbalize those feelings is quite difficult. But the best advice I probably got during my divorce was that it will hurt like hell, but it will get better, and it will get better over time. And not everyone was meant to be together. And some people do feel like they've failed, like I did, but sometimes things just were never meant to be, or that person was put in front of you for a reason, only for a certain period of time. And maybe that time is up. Maybe that time is over, and maybe even you've been in it longer than you probably should have been. Sometimes, though, for people that did not expect this to happen, it's even harder to accept. And if they're not wanting to end a relationship, oh my God, those poor darlings, my heart breaks for. Because trying to accept something that really is unacceptable is even harder. So if my relationship ending was my choice and I felt the way I did, I cannot even think of what it must be like for someone that had no choice, that the choice of staying in the relationship has been taken away from them because the other person has chosen the direction for the relationship. And in my book, The Jelly Bean Jar, I talk about the difference in relationships and the care that the three categories need. So let's just recap. Category A is where the person has chosen to end the relationship. Now, category A is normally a few years, anywhere between 2 and 5 years in front of category B. Category B is the person that never ever saw it coming, didn't expect it. Or maybe they had been told that there was problems, but they chose to ignore them or to think that they might go away. And then there's category C, and category C are where the parties just aren't getting along and they've jointly decided to end the relationship. But out of the three categories, category B by far needs the most love and care. And there's all these adaptations as well to these categories. You know, something along the lines of you may have been cheated on, domestic violence. There's other things that add other complexities to what some people are dealing with and actually add to the pain of what they're going through. So it's really important, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in your separation or divorce journey, that you get help and support. And whether that's a counsellor or a psychologist or even just someone like me that you can talk to, that I can head you in the right direction, it makes all of the difference to your outcome. And previously I've spoken about the stats, especially here in Australia, and they are very, very similar in other parts of the world. But if we're talking about 40% divorcing first-time marriages, then we've got 70% of second-time marriages failing, and then 90% of third-time marriages. The data tells a story, and the data's saying that these first-time marriages, the people simply aren't addressing what went wrong. They're not looking at the issues. They're not asking the really, really important questions, sometimes the hard questions of themselves. And those hard questions will lead you on a journey to self-evolution and transformation that make you a better person or a different person, because maybe you're good enough just as you are. And it's that evolution that will just bring forth opportunity. But making sure you've got someone on your team, someone that you can truly talk to, someone that can get to the bottom of what went wrong, because there's a root cause to everything. That's my right analytical brain talking right there. There's a root cause of everything. People just don't get up and end relationships unless there's a problem. And if you can find out what the problem is and you know that you've addressed it, you can make sure that it doesn't happen the second time around. And in previous weeks, in episode 86, we spoke about looking in the mirror and asking ourselves some really important questions. If you haven't listened to that, if you're new to the podcast, go back and listen to that. Because that's how, as people, we run a meta program, and there's some telling things when we look at our behaviours, and maybe some of that is the reason that things haven't gone to plan. Or it simply can be you just can't stand your ex-partner. They're just not the right person for you. You've stayed exactly the same, yet they have changed so much that you simply cannot bear it anymore. And that also has happened and can happen, but in most cases, both parties have changed over time. So I've been doing this now, 4 years? 4 years I've been doing this, helping people get through their divorce project, managing them and strategically putting plans in place to make sure they get the best outcome. And this I can tell you for certain. When I first meet them, how they turn up then and what happens when it's over, it is simply like night and day. And if you're hurting right now, and you're hurting so much that you can't breathe, that your heart hurts, just like some of the clients have told me, I want you to know it will get better. You will get through it. And life is full of joy. Life was not meant to be unhappy. And if you are really unhappy, only you can make a difference. No one else can. You can't be responsible for someone else's happiness. You can only be responsible for your own. So don't stay in a relationship where you don't have two people working on the same outcome. And don't stay in a relationship just because you think you have to. Stay because you want to. Stay because it's the right thing to do. Stay because you both have the same vision and you love each other like nothing else. If that's not what you've got, it really is time to pull up your socks and do something about your life, because you're the only person that can do it. And there's no doubt it is going to hurt. I'm being honest. It's going to hurt. But ask yourself this. Are you prepared for short-term pain over long-term happiness? Because even if the pain went for a year, but you are happy for another 50, isn't it worth it? All right, my lovelies, this has been a pretty full-on ep today, but I leave you with this one thing, that I have never, ever, ever, ever been happier in my life than what I am right now today. And that's because of all of the effort that I put into being happy. It's all of the education, evolution that I have chosen to put into making my life happy. It wasn't put on a platter. I don't get it from someone else. I get it from me, just me. And you can get it from just you. All right. Well, I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Divorce Angel podcast. Go behind the scenes of my business to learn the secrets no one else will share. Deep dive into the Divorce Angel process and listen to our most popular episodes over at tanyasummerton.com. If you love this episode of the podcast, do me a favour and head over to iTunes and subscribe and leave a review so we can reach more people and change more lives. That's all for now, and I'll catch up with you next week.